All right, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Enigmatica 6, aka Ego Waffle 6, aka Evanescence 6, aka insert whatever name you want. It starts with an E and a G. I hope everyone is doing great today. I know that I am. We are finally back. There has been a little bit of a hiatus with these videos lately. A couple of reasons as to why that is. One, we have a couple other series going on the channel right now, and there was some new DLC for Minecraft Dungeons, so we put a little bit more focus around that to ensure that we could get some good episodes out around that Echoing Void DLC. Highly recommend checking out the series in general if you haven't yet. A super fun game to play through, and we have a bunch of episodes backlogged, and we're getting attacked by a Skeletor. I had to like remember how to how to play. It's been a minute. It has been a minute, guys. The other thing too is I went on vacation. I was gone for about a week and a half, something in those in that realm of timing. And we did have some pre-recorded videos that we put out there, but it was mainly around Minecraft Dungeons and Minecraft Story Mode. I believe we did sneak in one of these episodes in there, which you guys definitely seem to enjoy. But honestly, it has been a little while since I have played, so we're getting back into things today. But I'm super excited. It has been a hot minute. We've let the creative juices kind of backlog a little bit, so we're ready to jump in to this mod pack a little bit more. Now, it has updated since the last time we played. You might be able to notice, I think the textures on these pine logs actually have changed a little bit more. Yeah, like they look a lot different, I feel like, than what we had. So we might ultimately change those out. I have a tool in mind that we probably will use to help us out with that when it does come time for it. But I believe in the last episode, if I'm not mistaken, we'll have to come over here and take a peek because it has been a minute. But we do have our tinkerers up and going over here. But we did get our diesel generator going. Now I haven't really touched it since, but as you can see, we have a good backlog of storage going here. And that's kind of the plan of it. I'd love to use this to continue to make storage, or to continue to make power, I should say, and then store it up and use it for different things. And what I really want to get into, because it's bugging the absolute bejesus out of me, is storage. I know it's not everyone's most favorite thing to get into, but realistically, our storage system is just kind of, it's not. I'm not vibing with it. There's other things I would love to get into as well that really will benefit from the storage we'll get into and some of the automation that we can kind of cake into it as we progress through the mod itself. Just to give you a hint, it is refined storage. I guess it's not a hint. That's what we're doing. And so yeah, I want to get into that and be able to really better store all of our stuff, because really right now it is a cluster, and I want to be able to access things remotely. And right now we don't have that capability. I could build piping all the way down to our farming area to branch off of our pretty pipes and everything like that. But just the way that the transfer speeds work with the pretty pipes, like we would be waiting a hot minute for things to transfer to and from there. So it would be cool, don't get me wrong, but I think it's about time we got into some refined storage. So let's take a look at the quest line for it. So refined storage, we've been through it before, so I'm not going to spend too much time deep diving into every single particular aspect of it, but we're going to obviously do a brief overview as we move through refined storage. Now, refined storage, let me see. I just want to make sure that you guys can see where it is at. Oh, it's right behind my camera here, but right behind my camera, there is refined storage under logistics. The logistics tab, you can find refined storage. So coming in here, we can do a little bit of reading here. So refined storage offers the ability to make vast electronic storage and automation networks, storing your items in magic computer space and importing and exporting / auto crafting as desired. It is a rather refined method of storage, you might say. So we'll get that. We're going to get some slime, some string, and a wrench. The wrench will be extremely useful for us down the line here. I'm going to put these away just for the time being. We do have our bucket and stuff here. I did pick up an umbrella. I don't recall if we showed that on camera or not. I did do a little bit of exploration, but we were able to pick up an umbrella. I don't know if it was from the Nether or I can't 100% recall where we got it from. But this basically acts as our paraglider that we lost when we had updated the pack several episodes ago. So we have that on hand just in case, and now we obviously have our wrench. Anyway, let's continue on the quests here. So processors. Again, pretty simple to get into processors that are the basic components that you're going to use to build a lot of the machines and the stuff that are encapsulated with the refined storage mod. And these ones they're not too bad to make. Really, once you get into a lot of the automation side of it, getting these set up to be automatically crafted for you will be really, really nice. Now, for us, we have a long way to go until we get to that point. And we're probably going to get into a couple other mods before we even get there as well. So let's get these crafted up really quickly and then smelt it up into their actual processor, because basically you make the raw processor, you smelt it, and you get the actual processor. So let me do that really quick. All right, guys, so we have these smelting up right now. But the one thing I actually did want to touch base on, which is one thing I didn't talk on just a second ago, were these other components that you're going to find when you're crafting up these raw processors. So you're going to have a processor binding and then silicone as well. Let me get this last one in here and I'll talk on both of those. So your processor binding, pretty straightforward, slime and string. That's why we got it as a reward from the first quest. Silicone, we've been over before. It's just quartz smelted up. There's other ways to do it, but honestly, to get going, that's your easiest way to go about it. So anyways, we got all those crafted up. Let's complete this quest here. We are going to get quartz enriched iron, which is going to be another big resource as we are going through and making the different components for refined storage. So with that completed, we can finally move on to our controller. Now, our controller is the thing that is obviously going to be the brain of the whole operation, as many of you guys know, and we're going to have to link some of our power from our diesel generator all the way over here. So I think for the time being, I might lay some tracks down to help us be able to transfer that power. And basically what I mean by that is I'm going to put down some electrical cabling and have it come over to where we're ultimately going to have this setup. Now, I'm not 100% sure. I don't know if I really want to have it in this room. Like, this has been kind of our starting point here, right? But realistically, we probably aren't going to be spending too much time there. So we might want to find a nice other location to put our setup in. But that is also the kind of the hard thing, because we do spend a lot of time over there. So do we want it to just stay over there? And we do have some areas over here that we have not yet really utilized. And we kind of started expanding this way. I plan to have had a huge storage area over here when we originally started, but ultimately cut it back, going into some of the other mods like iron chests and so on and so forth to expand the storage on singular size chests rather than having a huge room of double stacked chests. So not 100% sure. I don't think I want to keep it there. We might actually just modify our main room and keep it there. But we can also have it running to a different location. You can have your controller / your crafting grid at a different location and then have everything else kind of inlaid into the floor like so. So we might ultimately end up we might be doing that instead. So anyways, I'm rambling on as we go. I'm just throwing out ideas and just kind of spewing them. All right, let's get these put away. Sometimes this does this, and that's why I'm trying to get away from this setup, just because I just don't feel like it's as efficient as what we could get from this. So we are going to need a controller. Cool thing about the controller is you can actually dye it different colors. So I'm super excited about that, because you guys already know what colors we're going to be going with. All right, for the controller, we are going to need a machine casing, which shouldn't be too bad. We should be able to have everything that we need. I do believe this takes that quartz enriched iron, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty straightforward, guys. As you can see, recipe right there, and you do get a decent amount of it from the previous quest line anyway. All right, and then we should have everything we need for this as well. I didn't put the machine casing back in, but it should populate everything else. I do have a bunch of quartz that is smelting up into silicone, so we'll keep that going over there, and it should keep populating everything. And there we go. There is our controller, so we should be pretty much set there, but we're also going to need some cabling. And realistically, we're probably going to need a decent amount of cabling. So let's get some more of this quartz enriched iron going. We'll just make a whole slew of it. We got plenty of iron right now. This is a relatively resource intensive mod to get into. That's why I recommend maybe get a little bit of your resources collected before you start diving too far into refined storage or getting it set up. Realistically, what we had going pretty much suffices for us getting started, right? But now as we moved a little bit farther, I do want to try to start getting some automation going. So being able to have that capability is going to be super awesome. And I do want to get into some of the other mods too, like Power and everything like that. There's just so much more for us to explore and be able to tinker with in this pack that I'm really excited for it. And I really just don't want to have to worry about storage anymore. So, all right, there we go. We got that completed. We'll get even more cables, which is really nice. If you want to pause the video right here and read through any of this, feel free to do so. I'm not going to spend my time reading through everything through there. So the next thing we're going to have to get into is the actual storage itself. So you'll have the main hub, which is what you'll have to supply power to. And we have our cabling, which will allow us to link a lot of stuff together. But we're also going to need a place to link to that will actually house our storage drives. So think of it as a computer, right? You're going to have hard drives that store all of your data on a computer. So it's a very similar idea here. Again, guys, I'm not trying to deep dive too far into it, but I'm going to bring you along as we're crafting everything up for it. I do need to go back in. Does look like we did complete a quest under storage. Refined storage. Here we go. Yeah. So once we have a controller up and going, it does give us something here, which is kind of funny that it's in 2 locations. Right? Like you go from storage, it kind of diverts off into that, and then it brings you over into the new refined storage tab. So interesting. Wow, we did get a lot of, okay, I didn't mean to throw that in there. We did get a lot of chunks here, which I might go and throw into our crusher to let that kind of do its thing here. Give me a second. All right. Ores have been thrown into the crusher. I know I put the gold already into the system. We'll get it later. I'm not too worried about it. We have plenty of gold as it is. Oh, we have a reinforced chest as well. That's interesting. I don't think I've ever got that. Blast-proof chest which preserves its contents when broken. Actually pretty nice. We'll hold on to that for sure. All right. Moving right along. Discs and drives, like I was saying. So we're going to need a disk drive, right? And then we're also going to need a storage disk of any kind. I believe, yeah, it'll take any of these. You don't have to make all of them. You just have to make one of them. So there are different values of storage disks. And the higher you go, the more items you can store realistically. So it says 1K storage. Think of it as a 1-to-1, right? You have 1,000 storage slots, so you can store 1,000 individual items, right? So what? That would be about, a little over 10 stacks of an item, right? In here. So really going as high as you can possibly go with it is going to be your best bet. So let's get rolling here. We do need our disk drive. So we are going to need another machine casing. We should have enough of our enriched iron, quartz enriched iron to get us going for that. Don't know how much more we have. That's the other thing too, is like I would really love to have refined storage going. It just makes things so much simpler. We are going to have to make another processor and stuff. So let me get this stuff together and then we'll come back and we'll get this crafted up. All right, guys, we are good to go. We got our disk drive here. Throw it right on into our inventory. Then obviously the next thing we're going to need is disks. Now, I guess the better thing to do here would be to go to refined storage so you guys can actually see what all items we are dealing with when we're talking with refined storage. So you can see here on your right hand side, you can see everything that would be involved in refined storage. Now there's a couple different options for things, and for us what we're going to start with realistically is just our disks here. So there's a couple different ways you work up through it. There's a bunch of different things. There's also even I think there's the creative ones in here as well. I might be mistaken on that. I know in our last pack that we played through, there were creative ones here as well, which were really nice. But it might not be in this pack, which is perfectly fine. Anyways, it's beside the point. We need to get our disk up and going. So basically, you need to craft up through the tiers. So you start with a 1K disk, right? And then from there, you don't want to fully craft it. You just need the 1K storage part. And then from there, you can craft up to like a 4K storage, right? Which a 4K storage part takes 3 of the 1K storage parts. And then so on and so forth. This is where some of the automation will be coming in very, very handy. You're also going to need a decent amount of silicone, basic processors, so on and so forth, realistically. So we'll kind of mark everything here as to what we want to get. I would really like to get up to maybe like a 16 or like a 64K storage. I think that would be really, really nice for us to get up to. But it's going to take a lot of components. So once again, I'm going to cut away. I'm going to get a lot of that stuff together, and I'll bring you on back once we get a little bit closer to reaching that goal. All right, guys. So I've spent a little bit of time not only getting things crafted up. It did take a long time, but we finally got our 64K storage part going here. But I also went ahead and I started laying out the track that I want to use for some of our piping and wiring and all that jazz. And you can kind of see it off in the distance there. We'll get to that in just a second. Let's get this card crafted up though. So there's two different ways you can craft it up. You can either take a already made storage housing with the part and craft it like that, or you can just have it all in one big mess like that. And that's what exactly we are going to do here. We're going to make it like that. I have this in my inventory here, so that's why I off-clicked it there. We'll go like that, and there we go. 64K storage disk, which is awesome. Now, do keep in mind, I think the quest line, if I'm not mistaken, it only would go up to 64K. So if you went higher, I don't know if that would work or not. Like because I believe there are higher storages than that, if I'm not mistaken, right? Or maybe 64 is the highest. There is the creative one, which you do not have access to, unfortunately. Like I was saying before, I thought we might, but we do not. Yeah, it doesn't look like we can go any higher, which is a little bit unfortunate that we can't go any higher. Let's look up storage here. There are these storage blocks from extra storage, which, I mean, I guess this works, right? So if I go to extra storage, oh, these are our extra storage then. So extra storage, we can go even higher then, which is what I was thinking of, right? You get to 64 and then you can bump up to 256K. So, but obviously that's a lot to get to. And if you try to go even higher than that, it ends up taking a lot of components in order to get up to that. So, but we're just starting small. So the refined storage offering is perfectly good for our case scenario. Now, the other thing I will like to get up and going is actually a fluid storage disk. Because realistically, we have all of that like creosote oil over here, and we could just throw it into storage and have it be that way, and it would be so much easier than with what we're dealing with now. Now, as I've been doing stuff, I've also kind of realized that with the pack updating, some other things have changed as well. So I was getting rid of some of the weathered limestone, and now when you break it, it actually creates cobblestone, weathered limestone cobblestone. So that is a change. I did also notice our Tinkerer's sledgehammer actually represents what we have on it now. Before it didn't show the diamond or the haste on there, but now it does show that. So just a couple interesting things that I saw as I was going through and just doing some very basic things. But anyway, we haven't collected the quest rewards. So we did get refined storage loot box and housing, which is pretty nice. Let's see what we got from that. We did get 1K storage discs, which are pretty nice, or parts, I should say. Always good to have some of those extra ones there. Now, there's a couple different routes that we can go from here, but realistically, your best bet would be to get a grid up and going, because obviously you want to be able to craft stuff, right? So off the grid, so which you can actually access items in your storage by simply connecting to it. Now you'd start with that, but then realistically you're going to want to bump up to the crafting grid. Now the crafting grid takes a basic grid, so it's pretty straightforward going with all of that. But we are going to need a couple components for it. So let's get back into here really quickly. We will get a grid up and going, just like so. And then I'm also going to click on here so we can bookmark the crafting grid as well. Because really the grid is nice, but in the long term, I mean, you're not really going to use it. So we'll grab 2 of those. I think I'm only going to need it for crafting up the grid. Now we do have 2 new parts here that I'll show you guys in just a second here. Grab both of those, throw it in there, bada bing, bada boom, we'll let those go. All right, we are going to need a construction ore, which we do need basic processors for, which I do not have any basic processors for. So we're going to need 2 of those. We'll get those crafted up here. Takes its dandy old time, right? And there we go. Okay. 2 raw basic processors. We'll throw it in there, get those cooked up. And then we'll come back in here. So basically you'll have a destruction core and a construction core. Now these are pretty easy to get going, but we don't have glowstone right now. Oof. I did not realize that. I thought we had some glow. Do we have glow caps? We'll have to take a peek here. Glow. We do have some glow caps. Perfect. Okay, so we can utilize those to get the glowstone that we need for the time being. Very useful. I think I got these maybe in the nether. I don't remember where I got them from exactly, but obviously we've already been to the nether, so it's not like, you know, we haven't seen glowstone before. I guess I just haven't collected any, which it is what it is. All right, we got our construction ore. Let's get our destruction ore. Very straightforward for both of those. We don't need anything in our inventory to be in there. And then we have both of those. We are going to need another machine casing, and I made up a whole slew of that quartz enriched iron. So we are pretty much set for the time being. We'll get that machine frame in there, and then we should be able to get this going. Once the machine casing gets into the inventory, there we go. We got the A-OK with that green text in the lower left-hand side there. And there we go, we have our grid. Now, what we're going to want to do, guys, is don't get ahead of ourselves. Let's grab the rewards from this, just in case. Sometimes it can get funky with quest lines, so I always recommend, you know, don't jump ahead. Make sure you're collecting it on every single step of the way. Now we could do the crafting grid. We are going to need an advanced processor here, so let me craft that up. I'm also going to go back to refined over here so we can see what all we have stored up in terms of refined storage. And then we'll come back in here. We should have pretty much everything we need. Once that processor gets into here. So it should be cooked up. Yep, it should be into the system by now. Question mark. We got to wait for it. Wait for it. Wait for it. There we go. All right. Crafting table not found. So we are going to need a crafting table, which is probably my least favorite thing to have to worry about, is getting a crafting table going. So we'll just take this one. We'll knock that off. Yeah, I think that should be fine. We'll request grid not found because it's in our inventory. That is why. All right, we'll put that there. We should be able to turn this back into a normal one. I think, yeah, I think it was already a normal one. My bad. There we go. And we have our crafting grid. Perfect. Okay. So we can complete that. We are going to get a random loot box. Again, guys, if you want to read through any of these things, feel free to pause the video and take a read through. I'll go back through and click on them so you guys can have a second to pause and read them if you really, really want to. We did get an importer from that, which is going to be very useful down the line, especially as we get into automation. But for the time being, we're going to have to start setting up a lot of our wiring. Now, as you can see, I started digging some trenches out for all of our different cabling that we're going to have. And I think ultimately my plan is to have this bad boy set up right over here. I think this is going to be our best place for it. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to, I think what I'll do, because we need to get power and we need to get energy. Yeah, we need power to the grid itself. I don't think we need it to the crafting grid. We just need it to the controller. I'm sorry. We need power to the controller. So if I put this here, we have that running there because we have to have the cabling for that and we have to have the cabling for the power. If I place this here, because basically then what we'll have to do is have this kind of dip down here. Just like so. And we're going to have power run to it from this angle, right? And have come power up into there. I need to break that so I can actually get up here. And then what we'll do is we'll have this, which I guess what I'll do is I'll just kind of bump it out like so. And then have it sitting just right here so we can access everything. That should be set. So what we could do is we could actually start closing things up, but I don't really want to until we are 100% set in stone with what we're doing. Now, I can't place this down because I wanted this to run on top, but actually maybe we'll have it run underneath because really we're probably not going to be changing this out. So I know I'm talking through this with you guys here, so you'll have to bear with me as we get some of this stuff laid down. All right, there we go. And then this is going to run over to our actual storage disks, which I figured what I'll do with the storage disks, I mean, realistically, I could keep them all right here, but I do want to be able to access them. So I figured, why not? We will run this all the way over to our where I plan to keep them, which is going to be right over in here somewhere. This is where I'm going to keep our storage disk management. Probably right there in the corner, realistically. We'll probably have it. That's probably where we'll keep it. So unfortunately, we are going to have to break through a few things here. Luckily, we do already have some tracks laid down from our normal pipes, so we're going to have to cut this off just for the time being. We're going to have to clean up a lot of stuff realistically as we go forward. So I guess I'll just start doing that as it is now. Start getting this cleaned up a little bit here. We're not going to have access to that half of things now, so we're going to have to do some digging for anything that we may need. So let me get some stuff laid down, get things cleaned up. I'll bring you back once we're a little bit more progressed with my ultimate goal here. All right, guys, so I went ahead and I got everything made up. You kind of can see it here in the floor as well. Everything is pretty much laid out. We just need to do a little bit more cleanup is all. But we do have our disk drive wired up over here. Now, realistically, I didn't have to put it over here. I could have put it way closer to our whole entire setup. Like, I could have stuck it over here in the corner, or I don't know, maybe over here somewhere, or even just in the hallway here. But I felt like it fit down over there because really we're not going to be accessing it that much. We're only really going to need to go and get into it if we're adding in storage disks. So I think I'm perfectly fine with that. We might need to increase some speed, but we'll get to that down the line. Now, as you can see here, we do have a basic universal cable going all the way around for power. Now, I did ultimately end up going with these. I was kind of torn between universal cables or these energy cables from power. Now, the difference in power generation, you can kind of see it right there. It's about what, like almost 2,000 difference, right? A little under like 1,800 in difference between the two. So obviously the universal cables transfers a little bit more per tick, which is really nice, higher capacity. And also, honestly, it's a little bit cheaper to get up and going. Kind of. So the basic energy cable, obviously you need to get in, or the energy cable of the basic form. Yeah, so basic energy cable, you need to get into power a little bit. You need dielectric rods and basic capacitors and so on and so forth. And it does take up a good amount of resources, I would say. Now, the basic universal cable from Mekanism only takes steel and redstone to get up and going. Now, obviously, the biggest thing there is going to be the steel perspective because, you know, it is a little bit tricky to get steel going. But for us, I did have enough to get us going here. Now, I didn't have enough to finish everything off, as you can see. I do have a little bit more that I want to run all the way out to that room just in case like we were to ever need it for something there. I don't know if we really will need it for anything out here, but I at least wanted it to kind of run up into this point, maybe the center of the room, just in that off chance that we do need it for what, who knows what, right? But you can see here we do have the double stacked cables. We have the basic universal, and then under it we have our refined storage cables. Now then from there, it kind of just loops up like so, and then we can access it. Now realistically, we probably could bump this up, right? We could have this sitting one higher if we really wanted to, which maybe we'll do. I don't really know. I don't know if it doesn't really much matter, to be completely honest with you guys. Well, let me switch it around. Let me switch it around a little bit. All right, guys, I changed my mind. I realized why I kind of had kept it like so, just because we need two cables going into this controller. If we didn't need the power cable going into it, I definitely would shift it, but we do need to have that power access. And I mean, I guess we could have it kind of come up and behind it, but then we're starting to encroach into our overhang here. So I'm fine with it as is. We are going to need some more of our polished slate bricks here, which our storage thing is offline. Now, we actually got lucky there. We were able to find them right away. Our storage system is offline. I started tearing it down. So obviously it's going to be a little bit harder to find things because we actually have to go in and physically look for them in every single chest until we get everything moved over. Now, getting everything moved over is going to be a little bit more tricky to do. Now, there are easy ways that you can go about doing it, but realistically, probably just dumping it in would be perfectly fine. I'm going to have that run to there. That should be fine. So we should be all set here. So what I'll do really quickly is start moving things over. And then once we have everything moved over, I'll show you guys our end result. And then we'll wrap it up for the episode. All right, guys, we are all set here. I'll show you real quick. This is the whole interface of the crafting grid. Again, I'm not going to go too far into things. I'm sure most of you already know how to use this, but on the left-hand side here, you have a couple different options for things. I think the biggest thing you guys will probably be using is display, sorting direction, and then this search box mode. The search box mode, if you go to I think it's JEI synchronized, you can do two-way. So if you type in either or, it'll show it in here. You can have two-way auto selected or just normal, which is really nice. So if you want to be able to go from one to the other, right, be looking over here for something in JEI and it'll automatically show it over here. I'm going to keep it on normal for now. The display, you have normal, no craftables, only craftables, just normal. And then the descending order, it makes sense, right? And then the size, I'm sorry, the size is one that you might be interested in because there's like small, medium, large, and then stretch, which will fill your whole entire screen, which is really, really nice. Now to put the icing on the cake, I am going to dye this. All you gotta do is take some dye and you right click with it. And now we have our nice little purple crafting grid, which is awesome. And if we come over here, I'll show you guys, we don't have anything else in here. I took all the chests down. Everything has been moved over. I actually moved it all manually. It just was a lot quicker, and I have it where I can right click with a free hand to pick up stuff within a certain radius. So that really helped out a lot. Now, last thing, disk drive, I just want to show you guys the interface here. A lot of these things are going to be exactly the same. You're not going to really use it that much. You just throw disks in here, and then it shows you your overall storage capacity. So for our 64K storage, we are actually 18% full. So I'm really happy we went with the 64 instead of the 16 because we would have been almost full right at the 16 marker. Now, we are going to leave it there for today, but realistically, we are going to come back to this down the line. We did get some stuff completed by moving things from different from our storage into the new inventory. We did complete some quests based upon when they had reset the last time. But we're going to come back in the next episode. I'm probably going to actually start recording it right after I end this one. And we're going to do a few more things with refined storage here, mainly just the wireless access. I think that's going to be very useful for us, especially if we're down, you know, in a location that's hard for us to get to, right? We're down at the farms and we want to be able to access our system. This will offer a nice way for us to do it. I think the range will be fine. We're going to tinker with it. Worst case scenario, we ultimately end up running a pipeline down to it. But guys, with that being said, we are over our time here by just a little bit. We're going to wrap it up for today. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, feel free to leave a like down below. Better yet, leave a comment. Let me know what you think here on the series. Always love reading through what you guys have to say. If you are new here and you do want to follow along, definitely hit the subscribe button and bell notification. Lets you know every single time a new episode is posted here on the channel. We do stream over on Twitch, and we have a community Discord. If you're interested in either of those, the links can be found in the description down below. But other than that, guys, thank you so much for tuning in and hanging out with me as we took on refined storage today. I appreciate it so very much, and I will catch you all in the next episode. Take it easy.